My sense of purpose has shifted over the years, changing right along with my age. And honestly, it's hard to say how far back I should go when trying to trace it, because purpose is a complicated thing. It can be the very essence of why we live, the thing that makes life worth the effort. It can also be a sense of direction, a mission that helps you grow and deal with whatever life throws at you. Or it can be something deeply personal, shaped by your beliefs, experiences, relationships, and choices. But there is one thread that runs through every stage of my life: lifting weights. I got hooked when I was maybe 16, and I'm convinced that this passion is what carried me through the tougher moments. It kept me interested in health, fitness, diet, and all kinds of biohacking, long before the word became trendy. When I was in my early 20s, my days were filled with random events and rarely did anything out of my own initiative. Sure, sometimes I got an idea and followed through, but most of my time went into studying finance at the university. Looking back, the subject was too easy to quit, but too broad to give me a real satisfaction or a guarantee career afterwards. The rest of the time I worked odd jobs and had fun, but I wasn't exactly focused on growth. Back then, I was mostly into girls and cars and occasionally scuba diving. Toward the end of the period, I even became a dive master and started training beginners at the local dive club owned by my friend. And I think that's when I realized how much joy I get from teaching people something I genuinely love. Life as a 20-year-old wasn't easy. I didn't have anything to brag about. My sense of self-worth was pretty low, and the only thing I could honestly say about myself was that I had potential. My purpose back then was basically to have fun and get by. I didn't have to plan anything or take care of anyone. It was a time of total freedom, doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, with whoever I wanted. But it was also a time of not having the money to do any of it. The gap between wanting and being able to was my daily frustration. When I look back, I can see how shallow the life was. There was no depth, no bigger plan, nothing beyond material stuff and my own needs. I was egocentric, and living for yourself, while easy and convenient, doesn't give you the roots. It doesn't anchor you when things get tough. Even a small failure could shake me, hit my self-esteem, and kill my appetite for life. I was like a young tree with weak roots, easy to uproot or break with the slightest wind. The tree that didn't give fruit or shade to anyone. There was also this frustrating paradox. I had time for everything, but motivation for almost nothing. It wasn't exactly laziness, at least not entirely. It was more the lack of a bigger, long-term goal. I lived day to day, not knowing who I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. I wasn't moving toward anything. I was reactive, adjusting my actions to other people's goals. No ideals, no inner conviction that what I was doing mattered to anyone. When I entered my 30s, things really started to settle and make sense. Work became part of my life, not because of the money, but because it gave me a hint of purpose and direction. I was becoming more defined. I got married, we bought an apartment, and our first child was born. Suddenly everything had a plan behind it. Everything was tied together by a shared goal: to build a family, to be a responsible parent, and become as independent from my parents as possible. That independence became a point of my pride for me. Even when I didn't need help, my dad would sometimes offer to chip in for something, and I always refused. I felt like accepting money would mean weakness, like I was trying to say, look, I can handle this on my own. Maybe it was a bit prideful, but the pride gave me satisfaction. My promotion at work was my achievement, and I saw my family the same way. growing stronger, more autonomous, and like we had our own gravity. But even during that beautiful transformation, I had moments of breakdown. Paradoxically, this new life saved me. It gave me purpose, strength, and energy. I barely got sick, I was always the first one at work, and our home was full of love and good organization. Everything was as it should be. But my fiery personality kept showing up. I could get upset over something completely trivial and ruin everyone's mood for hours. If I felt the house was messy, something inside me snapped. Sometimes I'd say a few hurtful words to my wife, no yelling, no insults, but still painful. More often I'd shut down completely, go silent, withdraw from conversations as if the problem would magically solve itself if I just stayed quiet. I partially blamed it on my Hashimoto's, the hormonal swings, the adrenaline-like pressure in my chest. Those mood swings were hard for me and must have been miserable to my wife. She had every right to be angry, but she never threw it in my face. She supported me even when I messed up. She forgave me more times than I deserved. I was frustrated with my inability to control my emotions, not just on the outside, but inside. That crushing pressure in my chest was destroying me. I was angry at the world not behaving the way I thought it should. I felt like I was the only rational one. When my father died, something in me finally shifted. It was a huge blow, but also a final goodbye to the part of me that still felt like a dependent kid deep inside. The part that believed my dad would always save me if things went wrong. But honestly, the transition into my 40s had already begun. I was tired of fighting the world, tired of trying to convince everyone to follow my habits and preferences. Not big values, those were shared. Hard work, rational thinking, science. We all agreed on that. It was the small things. My obsession with order, my fear that everything around me was fragile and falling apart, my compulsive need to keep everything perfect. It drove everyone crazy, including me. I hated how I behaved. I hated how I treated the people I loved. So I started looking for a solution. One day, scrolling online, I stumbled upon something about meditation, and for some reason I immediately decided to try it. I didn't know why. I would always thought meditation was for monks, boring, pointless, too mystical. But the more I read, the more positive experiences I found. And I had nothing to lose. No equipment, no class, no costs. Just sit and observe your breath. Don't change it. Don't slow it down. Don't judge it. Just notice it. 5 minutes every morning, every day. After a few days, I got used to it. The moments of focus started lasting longer than the chaotic ones. I slowly increased the time until I reached 10 minutes. Breath meditation, simply observing the inhale and exhale to calm my mind and anchor myself in the present moment, became as routine as brushing my teeth. I didn't expect anything from it. I wasn't hoping for miracles. I just did what I said I'd do. That's one of my traits. When I commit to something, I stick to it no matter what. Sometimes it's exhausting, especially when the habit is pointless, but in this case, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. After a few weeks, I realized my thoughts were easier to control. They weren't running wild anymore. They followed the direction I gave them. I felt calm, not just on the outside, but inside. My emotions were finally under control. Not in every situation, not under extreme stress, but in most everyday moments at home and at work. I felt like I'd been handed the user manual to my own mind. And that's what saved me. It pulled me out of the pit of frustration and unrealistic expectations. I stopped expecting others to be the way I wanted them to be. I understood, and I calmed down deeply. That's when life hit me with two major blows, one after another. I had just regained control over my sense of purpose when I was laid off during a company restructuring, and a few weeks later, my father died. A left jab and a right hook. But I didn't break. I didn't fall into depression. I kept fighting. Meditation gave me the ability to manage my despair and turn it into action. I looked for a new job because I wanted to support my wife and our two kids. I handled everything that came with my dad's death. Life flipped upside down, but it didn't crush me. It strengthened me. In the face of tragedy, I finally understood what really matters. Money, possession, they are fragile. What truly matters is what I do. Time with my family. The joy of doing things together. Being someone they trust and enjoy being around. All of this happened the year I turned 40. Cliché, I know. But now I see that the transformation started earlier. Through self-control and a shift in perspective, I stopped being that easy offended kid who demanded the world behave his way. I became a man who accepts things as they are. Someone who cares more about what he does and who he does it with than about what he owns. I think I was lucky that everything unfolded in this order. But sometimes you have to help luck a little and be ready. And I was. Since then, I've taken real satisfaction in living each day according to my values. Not because everything goes my way, but because my reactions, especially in tough moments, are the ones I choose. Since then, I feel like I'm finally in charge of myself. And even when life gets hard, that gives me strength.